Good evening, everyone. Any questions, doubt from what we discussed last time?
Hello.
Yeah, Isha.
Good evening, sir. Sir, can you please explain REIT once again?
Sorry, what?
REIT.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Just give me a minute. I think just give me a minute. I'm just making the adjustment in the settings. Initial network issues.
Okay.
Nishant, you there?
Yeah, Damni, sorry. I was just trying to make some adjustment, but I think हो नहीं रहा है. So ठीक है. So Isha, you were asking about REIT. So REIT is Real Estate Investment Trust. So real estate investment trusts are like a mutual funds, and these mutual funds are are kind of in funds or schemes which invest directly or indirectly into real estate. So for example, if you've invested into mutual fund, the mutual fund will either buy the real estate, or which means buy the property, or they will buy the shares of the real estate companies. Then what will happen? Your returns from that mutual fund will be directly or indirectly linked to the real estate. Isha, does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you, sir. Clear.
Okay. Anybody else? Anything else?
Sir.
Okay. So, in case you don't have any further doubts in what we discussed, the landscape last time. So, couple of things I wanted to cover. One is the how to stock exchange. So, what do you mean by stock exchange, and how does the trading and the pricing calculation happen in stock exchange? So, what means stock exchange? Stock exchange is nothing but a platform where shares are bought and sold. And this is nothing but is primarily your secondary market. You have discussed, correct? I've explained you what is secondary and primary market, correct? Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Have we discussed primary market and secondary market?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So the way it works, for example, I have a Reliance, and Reliance is the company who's issuing shares. And let's assume this is investor one, and then this is stock exchange, I suppose NSE, and this is investor two. So what will happen? Reliance will issue shares to investor one, and investor one will give money to Reliance. This is primary market. Any doubt in this, please? Now, if this investor now wants to sell the shares, they will come to the stock exchange, and through this stock exchange, they would be able to sell the share to another investor. And the money will be given by this investor to the stock exchange, and then this money will go to this investor one. This part of the transaction is your nothing but your secondary market. And this NSE, which is National Stock Exchange, is acting as a stock exchange, which is nothing but a platform to buy and sell the shares. So for investor two, it is a platform where investor two is from where the investor two is buying the shares, and for investor one, through the same platform, is selling the shares.
Stock.
Is this clear to everyone? Somebody is asking something?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Kansha, go ahead.
So this in the primary market, the shares which are issued to public, the company and issues it directly to the public, that would be the primary market. Or is there some other
Correct.
example as well?
No, correct. That's it. So the company will issue shares directly to the public and raising the funds. That is a primary market. And the shares which are issued in the primary market, which gets further traded, that further trading market is called a secondary market. And just to help you to understand this better, any trading that's happening in the secondary market, so for example, in this case, the investor one is selling the stock to investor two, will not result any cash flow for Reliance. That trading that's happening between investor one and investor two in the secondary market will not have an impact on Reliance. So what does mean? So let's assume originally in the primary market, the investor one purchased the stock at 10 rupees. So the investor once paid 10 rupees to Reliance. Now investor one is selling the stock either at 9 or either at 11. It does not make a difference to Reliance because Reliance has got 10 rupees and that 10 rupees is still with Reliance. Akansha?
Yeah, okay.
Guys, is this clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, you would have seen on stock exchange, so screens होती हैं, terminals होते हैं, उसपे price fluctuate करता रहता है. So the price keeps on changing from green, red, change होता रहता है up and down. वो कैसे होता है वो मैं आपको समझाता हूँ. So now, suppose we have this investor one. So he's the one who wants to sell the shares. He wants to sell the shares. He will go to the exchange and submit bids. इसको bids बोलते हैं. So he will submit the bid. Suppose ये stock exchange का platform है. यहाँ पे currently price हो रहा है, let's assume 10 rupees. 10 rupees का price दिख रहा है अभी. This investor will submit the first bid. So he'll say, okay, I want to sell 100 shares at the price of, let's assume, seller always wants to sell at a high price. So suppose he says, I want to sell at 12 each. And he will press enter. This bid will go into stock exchange. So this bid, in a real world, this investor will submit a bid to broker one. This is NSC. In real world, this investor will submit the bid to broker one, and through broker one, it will go to the exchange. By exchange में जाके ये bid वहाँ पे submit हो जाएगा. Any doubt till this point?
No, sir.
What does this mean? On exchange, it will appear that somebody is interested in selling 100 shares at 12 each, but who is willing to sell those shares वो नाम नहीं दिखेगा, but कितना quantity और कितने price पे बेचना चाहता है वो दिख जाएगा. Similarly, I will have investor two on the other side. Investor two wants to buy 100 shares. Now, the buyer always wants to buy at a low price, so he will submit, I want to buy at a price of 9 each. Okay, तो ये भी enter करेगा, and then he will have his broker. Let's put that as broker 2. So he will submit the bid to broker 2, and to broker 2, this bid will reach to stock exchange. So what will happen now? This bid moves from here and reaches stock exchange. ठीक है, so I will pause here for 30 seconds. Any doubt in this तो बताइए.
So,
If the price of Reliance in the secondary market will increase, so what is the impact on the Reliance industry?
Hello, can you hear me? Am I audible now?
yes, sir.
Because I was trying to speak earlier also, but I was not getting response. So, were you able to hear me when I explained this entire concept, or were you not able to? Was I audible when I explained this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, yeah. So what will happen now in the stock exchange? These two bids will come in. So one is the bid for buying the 100 shares at 9 each, and the second bid is the selling the 100 shares at 12 each. And the exchange, the current price at exchange is showing is 10 rupees. So please focus. Now what will happen, because these two bids are at a different price. So one is at 12 rupees and another is at 9 rupees. So they're not matching with each other. So the transaction will not happen. The transaction will not happen. Any doubt on this point? Because for transaction to happen, price should match.
So one more thing. In this concept of bid, how are they deciding their own prices of the shares? Like, if they have
You're
to
free.
sell it at the
You're free to decide your price.
okay, so whatever I try to sell the price of the share at, so NSE will accept it, or it will just wait for any buyer to intervene and then they will
It will wait for the buyer,
decide.
correct? So you can decide your price. So for example, in this case, investor one can decide, okay, I want to submit the bid of 12, but that bid of 12 is of no use unless it is being accepted by someone else. Akansha?
Okay.
It's very
Yeah.
similar to your property. Suppose you have a property and let's assume you want to sell your property and you decide, okay, my property is 100 crore rupees. if nobody is willing to buy at 100 crore, then your value, the value that you're putting 100 crore is no use. If you're genuinely interested in selling, you have to come down, correct, to sell your property. And same thing will happen in this case. Now, in this case, what will be the important factor? Who is in urgency? Is the investor one is in urgency, or the investor two is in urgency? So let's assume investor two is in urgency. The investor two realizes that I have submitted a price of 9, but nobody is interested in selling me at 9. So he goes and changes the price to 10. This is possible. So you can change your bid. So now he will change his bid to 10 and enter. Any doubt till this point?
No.
Now the revised bids are that somebody is willing to buy the shares at 10 each, and whereas somebody else is willing to sell the shares at 12 each. Now again, let's assume investor one is still again not an urgency. Now investor two again changes the price at 11. Now suppose the seller realizes, okay, let me now change the price to 11, and seller now changes the price to 11. The moment both these prices gets matched, what will happen? These bids will get removed from the screen, because there are no more bids and the transaction has happened, and the new price on the screen will come out to be 11, क्योंकि 11 पे सौदा हो गया है. Guys, समझ आया? How does this price on the screen change?
Yes, sir.
Anybody, any doubt in this? This is what happens throughout the day. The price keeps on changing. The price what get displayed on the screen is the price at which the last transaction has happened. So suppose now the next transaction happens at, let's assume, again at 10. So what will happen? This will remove and 10 will come in. Next transaction again, let's say, happen at 13. So 10 will go off and 13 will come, and so on. हाँ जी, किसी को कुछ पूछना है यहाँ तक?
Sir, one more thing. Sorry.
Yeah.
If this transaction takes place and there's this money on this, the amount that shows on this, so whatever is the price that is fixed, another investor, when has to purchase another amount of shares, will have to put in the price that is shown on the screen.
No, not
Or
necessary. The price which is shown on the screen is only a reference point. You can sell. You can submit the bid either at the lower price or the higher price. That's completely your discretion. And if that bid is accepted by somebody else, then that bid becomes the new price.
okay.
So for example,
So
if you recollect, yes, Ruko. So if you recollect, Akansha, this the first originally जो स्क्रीन पे प्राइस डिस्प्ले हो रहा था वो 10 था, ओरिजिनल वाला केस. एंड जो बिडर ने प्राइस सबमिट किया था वो 12 और 9 था, तो मैच नहीं हुआ, उन्होंने चेंज किया, तो फाइनली 11 का बिड मैच हुआ, एंड दैट्स व्हाई द न्यू प्राइस मूव फ्रॉम 10 to 11.
Yes.
Akansha, is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Hi, Yash.
sir, is this possible to forecast the share price?
Forecasting in the sense, forecasting in terms of the value?
No, sir. Forecasting of share price.
Forecasting from what perspective? That's what I'm trying to understand. Forecasting price means what? What you
So-
forecast the value of the stock?
Yes, sir. Just
sir,
like आज की
करेंगे
डेट
ना हम
आज
लोग
की डेट में
वैल्यूएशन में करेंगे,
जैसे आज की डेट में
वैल्यूएशन
सर फॉर एग्जांपल रिलायंस 2000 पे ट्रेड कर रहा है.
यश, वो फोरकास्टिंग कर सकते हैं, हम लोग करेंगे वैल्यूएशन में.
ओके
लेवल 2 में करेंगे हम लोग.
ओके
हाँ जी, एनी अदर डाउट गाइस? Is this clear to everyone in terms of stock exchange? Price कैसे आता है? How does it get change throughout the day. That's very important. A lot of students don't understand वो price कैसे आता है, display कैसे होता है, and उसके पीछे का dynamics क्या है. ठीक है. So in case no doubt, now how does this happen from a transaction perspective? So investor one submits the bid to the broker. Through this, the bid goes to the exchange. Similarly, on the other side, the investor two submits the bid to the broker, and through this broker, the bid comes to the exchange. Once the bid is being accepted, once the bids are matched, then what happens is this. The investor one will submit these shares to broker. Step one. ये shares होंगे क्योंकि sell कर रहा है. On the other side, the investor two will submit the money because ये buyer है. ये buyer है ना. So will submit money to broker two. Broker two will submit this money to exchange, and broker will submit this money, sorry, not some money, the shares to exchange. यहाँ तक कोई doubt?
No.
So what will happen once exchange receives shares from the seller and money from the buyer, then they will reverse this transaction, will pass on the shares to the broker two and pass on the money to broker one. Any doubt? Any doubt?
Yes,
No,
sir.
sir.
And
Yes,
then
sir.
broker one will pass on this money back to the investor one, and broker two will pass on the shares to investor two. This is where finally the transaction will happen. There would never be a default scenario. Default scenario means, let's assume if investor one has given shares and NSE has received these shares, but investor two has not given the money. ये मैंने दिया ही नहीं है. So unless the exchange receives money, they will not pass on the shares. They will not pass on the shares to broker. And अगर वो पैसा नहीं देगा, तो यहीं से share वापस return हो जाएंगे. Hence, there will be no scenario where the invested one in this case gives the shares but do not get the money. वो होगा नहीं कभी. So exchange acts as a checkpoint to ensure that they will only give the shares once the money is being received and vice versa. And hence you say that there is no default risk on the exchange. Is this clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Anybody, any doubt on this?
So could you please explain the default one again?
True. Let me get a different color marker. So if suppose the investor one has given the shares to NSE, but investor 2 does not give this money, then NSE will not give shares to broker 2. Which means NSE, on one hand, the NSE should receive the shares, on the other hand, the NSE should receive the money, then only they will interchange. If on one hand you have received the shares, on the other hand you do not receive the money, they will not do the interchange. Akansha, is that clear to you?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Nishant, what
Yeah,
would
Dipali.
happen with what would happen to the shares then? It will remain to NSE until a next buyer comes, or it will goes back to investor 1.
So the couple of options are possible. So one, generally these such scenarios goes for an auction. So NSE will auction these shares. If doesn't get in auction, then these will can be returned to the investor 1.
Okay.
Generally auction hota hai. Auction is nothing but, as you're saying, next investor, next buyer.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else?
Answer one more thing. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. No issues. Go ahead.
Again, in the first example, if the bid gets cancelled and like the way the investor 2 was changing,
Is everybody with me till this point, guys? Please focus.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Hence, 14 is not the price that company would be comfortable to fix, because if I fix the 14 price, yes, the 14 rupees is the highest price, but I means the company will not be able to sell 100 shares at the price of 14, and they wanted to sell 100 shares. So what they will do, they will go to the next price. So next price is 13. Now, if company fixes the price 13, then they would be able to sell how many shares? 10? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
No.
yes,
If company fixes the price at 13, they would be able to sell 60
with the
shares,
plus 10,
Yes, sir.
because somebody who's willing to buy at 14 would be more than happy to buy at 13.
yeah,
I repeat. So if the company now fixes the price at 13, the investor D, who has submitted the price at 14, who has submitted the application at 14, what does that application means? He is willing to buy 50 shares at 14 rupees, which automatically means अगर वो 14 rupees देने के लिए ready है per share, तो 13 rupees तो ever ready होगा, because उसकी 1 rupee की saving हो जाएगी per share. Guys,
yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes, sir.
which means if I fix the price at 13, company would be able to sell how many shares? 60, which is D and E, invested D and E, 50 plus 10. Is everybody with me till this point?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Any doubt? I will pause here for 30 seconds. Any doubt?
So please repeat last one.
So if company fixes the price of 13, then 50 plus 10, 60 shares will get sold. Because somebody who's willing to buy at
Yes.
14 is anyways ready to buy at 13. Mega.
Yes, sir. Clear.
Anybody else? Okay. Now, but again, company wants to sell how many shares? Again, 100 shares. So again, fixing the price 13 will not help, because 13 will result in only what? Only 60 shares. Now company move to the next price, which is level 3, rank 3 is 12. If company fixes the price 12, then how many shares will get sold? 100 shares. 50 plus 10 plus this 40. So investor D left and investor G. So what will happen then? Company will finally fix the price at 12, because at 12 company is able to sell 100 shares, and investor A gets एप्लीकेशन रिजेक्ट हो जाएगा, बी का रिजेक्ट हो जाएगा, सी का रिजेक्ट हो जाएगा, एफ का तो पहले रिजेक्ट हो चुका है, डी, ई और जी को शेयर्स मिल जाएंगे एट द प्राइस ऑफ 12 ईच. एनी डाउट?
No, sir.
और रिफंड कंप्यूटेशन क्या होगा? रिफंड कंप्यूटेशन होगा, ए को कितने पैसे वापस मिलेंगे? ए विल गेट हाउ मेनी रिफंड? ए विल गेट 20 इंटू 10, पूरा पैसा वापस मिल जाएगा ए को? हाँ या ना? कि ए की जो एप्लीकेशन है वो रिजेक्ट होगी, तो ए को तो कोई शेयर्स मिले नहीं, तो ए ने जो एडवांस सबमिट किया था 10 रुपीज के हिसाब से वापस मिल जाएगा पूरा. कोई डाउट यहाँ?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
एबीसी का रिफंड कंप्यूटेशन
Yes,
क्लियर है
sir.
सबको? ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. अगेन आई एम गिविंग 30 seconds, absorb this.
Sir, a fund computation would be the amount of price of shares that they are bidding and multiplied with the quantity of shares they are going to buy. That's it.
हाँ जी, कुछ डाउट इसमें? इज
So
एबीसी
why,
रिफंड कम? या यश?
so why the application of the price 15 will reject? So he's willing to buy at 50 shares or
Sorry, come again.
so why the price of 15 per share will reject if the bid is for 15 rupees per share?
15 का है कहाँ? There is no bid for 15 rupees ना.
the price band is 9 to 14, but is willing to buy at the higher price at 15 rupees.
But that's not allowed, correct? So the company has fixed the price that somebody has to submit into this cap, into this band. What does this mean? You are allowed to submit application into this range. You can't submit beyond this range, be it a lower side, be it a higher side. And think, yes, if you have a capacity to pay 15 and that share is available at 14, why would you submit the application at 15? That's an error, correct?
Yes.
No logical investor would say, okay, कंपनी मुझे 14 रुपीज में देने को रेडी है तो मैं 15 की सबमिट कर देता हूँ.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I can understand you can submit at 8, which you means no, I don't want to buy at 9, I want to buy at 8 because I believe the price is right. The right price is 8. So that I can understand. But if you believe the right price is 15 and you're getting the stock at 14, why would you hesitate to submit the application at 14? That's in your favor.
Okay, sir.
Any other question?
No, sir.
Anybody else? Okay. And what would be the refund for D? The refund for D would be 2 rupees per share into 50 shares. Check करिए D का check करिए. Why 2 rupees? Because the final price is 12, but D submitted the price, the money according to 14 rupees per share. So per share, the D has submitted 2 rupees extra, which is now being refunded. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Similarly, for E, the refund would be 1 into 10. F anyways is rejected, which means he won't, anyways not would have been. And for G, the refund is 0. इसका भी full refund ही होगा. Is G clear to everyone? Why G will not get anything? Because G submitted the price according to 12, and 12 is the final price. So he has not submitted any amount extra. That's why no refund for it. Guys, any doubt?
No, sir.
No, sir.
ठीक है. Now what I've explained you so far, I've explained you the pricing calculation of the IPO. This is IPO calculation, correct? IPO through book building and fixed prices. That's what we've done so far. And before this, I've also explained you how does the pricing gets updated, or the orders are matched, or bids are submitted on stock exchange, which is secondary market. Any questions, doubt, any scenario that you've seen earlier which is not being covered here? कुछ पूछना हो तो बताइए.
Sir,
Yeah.
so isn't there any option available to the company that whether it can decide to sell 50 shares at 14 and 10 shares at 13 and rest 40 shares at 12?
नहीं समझा, क्वेश्चन नहीं समझा रहा हूँ.
मतलब कंपनी डिसाइड नहीं कर सकती कि वो 50 शेयर्स 14 पे 50 शेयर 14 पे सेल करे और रेस्ट 10 शेयर्स 13 पे और 40 शेयर्स 12 पे और बाकी
Oh,
के
yeah,
14 और 13 वाले.
understood. Understood. So that's possible. That depends upon the kind of an book building process that you decide. So generally, इंडिया में वो नहीं होता, but some of the, ऐसा नहीं है कि नहीं कर सकते आप, but इंडिया में generally वो trend नहीं है. Some of the more developed market like UK markets and and markets like Singapore, वहाँ पे generally वैसा possible होता है, where you उसको बोलते हैं differential pricing auction, where you are
Okay,
issuing the shares to the different investor at different price.
okay. तो सर उस केस में फिर ये भी होता होगा कि कुछ बेस प्राइस डिसाइड होता होगा जिसके बेसिस पे शेयर प्रीमियम अलग डिसाइड होता होगा कि इसके अलावा अगर हमें हमें आ रहा है तो शेयर प्रीमियम में दिखाएंगे और अप टू दिस इट विल बी इंक्लूडेड इन शेयर कैपिटल.
नहीं, उसमें वो तो जैसे वो तो यहाँ पे भी होगा, करेक्ट. जो मेरी कंपनी के स्टॉक की फेस वैल्यू, अगर फेस वैल्यू 10 है, जैसे भी इस अगर आप इस सिनेरियो में देखोगे, अगर कंपनी ने 12 रुपीज फिक्स किया है और फेस वैल्यू अगर 10 है, तो जो 2 रुपए है वो तो शेयर प्रीमियम में दिखा होगा ना, फ्रॉम अकाउंटिंग कैलकुलेशन
हाँ
परस्पेक्टिव.
हाँ, ठीक है ठीक.
तो उसमें तो कुछ आई डोंट सी टू मच ऑफ डिफरेंस इन दैट.
ठीक है सर, अंडरस्टूड.
Anything else? Any other question? ठीक है. So in case uh, last time, any questions on this?
नो सर.
Sir, I have one question. Sir, what are arbitrators? कौन होते हैं sir?
Sorry,
Arbitrators, sir.
yes, आवाज नहीं आ रहा. RB
Arbitrators, sir.
arbitrator. So uh, you know the concept of arbitrage?
No, sir. I have this get that name from derivative market.
Okay. So arbitrage क्या होता है? Suppose let me remove this. So for example, in let's assume, so let's take an example of gold. Suppose you have market 1 and you have market 2. Suppose gold का price market 1 में let's assume 56 चल रहा है और यहाँ पे 57 चल रहा है. So what do? You buy from this market and immediately sell into this market. So you make a profit of 1 rupees. This is called as arbitrage. When you buy, so arbitrage means when you exploit the price difference between two markets. If the same product or the same asset or the same security is being trading into two markets at two different prices at the same point of time, then you exploit this difference by buying at a low, by buying from the market where the price is low and immediately or simultaneously selling into the market where selling into the other market where the price is high. So then you land up in making this 1 rupee profit. That's called as arbitrage. जो लोग ये करते हैं उनको arbitrages बोलते हैं. Yes?
थोड़ा इसको एक्सप्लोर कर सकते हो थोड़ा सा.
बोलो.
How can they work in the derivative market?
How can they
work in the derivative market?
So मान लो ये गोल्ड के फ्यूचर्स हैं. I don't know whether you understand the derivatives or not. So let's assume अगर
Yes, sir.
आपको डेरिवेटिव समझ आता है, so ये
Yes,
मान लो गोल्ड के फ्यूचर्स हैं. So आपने गोल्ड के फ्यूचर्स एक मार्केट में लॉन्ग मारे, एक मार्केट में शॉर्ट मारे.
So what is the difference between speculator or arbitrator?
Speculation is, so suppose it's market 1 and उसमें गोल्ड है suppose 56 का चल रहा है. तो यहाँ पे आपने बाय किया at 56 with anticipation that in future this will go to 60. अब वो 56 का 60 में जाएगा या नहीं जाएगा पता नहीं. सो 56 का 60 में जा भी सकता है और अगर नीचे चला गया तो 54 भी जा सकता है, तो आपको लॉस हो जाएगा. ये स्पेकुलेशन है जहाँ पे आप फ्यूचर में एंटिसिपेट कर रहे हो, अच्छा ऊपर जाएगा तो ले लेता हूँ, बट ऊपर जाएगा कि नहीं जाएगा तो पता नहीं है. सो यहाँ पे आप रिस्क ले रहे हो.
Just like betting.
स्पेकुलेशन इज, हाँ कह सकते हो, स्पेकुलेशन इज मोर लाइक अ रिस्क. यहाँ पे कोई रिस्क ही नहीं है, इसको तो रिस्क लेस प्रॉफिट बोलते हैं ना. आर्बिट्रेज इज रिस्क लेस गेन. यहाँ को रिस्क ही नहीं है. आपको एक मार्केट में दिख रहा है 56 का, एक मार्केट में दिख रहा है 57 का, 56 का खरीद के 57 बेच दिया, कोई रिस्क ही नहीं है.
Okay.
So that's what difference speculation and arbitrage. In arbitrage, you are trying to exploit the price difference without taking risk. That's why this is called as riskless gain. In speculation, you are actually taking the risk in the anticipation of the profit.
Okay, sir.
Anything else?
So, going to go through the topic of derivatives. Or this is
Sorry?
just not. Are we going to go through the topic of derivatives, or
No.
was this?
No. Not at least as of now, because derivative is not something which is part of this journey. But later, if we decide and we can check with the Amni if that's the way it has to be, then we can try and cover, but not as of now. Anything else? Any other questions in this? Okay. Now, what is depository? Demat account, broker, broking account, bank, and bank account. Now, these are some of these intermediary and different types of account that I need when I want to trade in the stock market. So what is demat account? Well, let's first come to the last one, the bank and bank account. This is pretty simple. So bank account is the account where you hold your cash in the electronic form, and with whom you open this account is called as bank. Is that clear? Simple, guys?
Yes. Yes.
Now, similarly, what is demat account? Demat account is the account where you hold your shares in an electronic form, and the entity with whom you open these accounts are called as depository, very similar to a bank. So the demat account works very similar to a bank account, and the depository works very similar to a bank. The difference is the bank account holds the cash or your money in the electronic form, where the demat account holds the securities or the shares in the electronic form. Any doubt in this? Okay. And then you have a broking account. So so you are not allowed to submit your bids directly on the stock exchange. You have to go through some broker. You can't go directly to the stock exchange and submit your bids. So that's the reason why you need to go to some broker and open your trading account or a broking account, and that's called as broking account. The example that I've discussed earlier, that you were able to submit your bid to the broker and through broker it reaches through the exchange, that's called as a broking account or trading account. So is this clear? We need these three things to start trading into the market. One is your demat account, second is your broking account, इसको trading account या broking access भी बोलते हैं, and the third is the bank account. So एक से आपको order submit करने का या bid submit करने का access मिलता है, एक में आपके पैसे होते हैं और एक में आपके shares होते हैं. So for example, अगर आप shares को sell कर रहे हो तो आपके demat account में minus होगा और आपके बैंक अकाउंट में पैसा जब आ जाएगा तो प्लस हो जाएगा. सिमिलरली जब आप शेयर्स बाय कर रहे हो तो आपके डीमैट अकाउंट में शेयर्स प्लस होंगे और आपके बैंक अकाउंट में पैसे माइनस होंगे. इज दिस क्लियर टू एवरीवन? कुछ डाउट क्वेश्चंस पूछिए. Guys, is this clear? Any questions, queries on this? Are we clear with these three different types? All this stuff is not given in your slides, so be very careful, because that's the reason why I'm explaining through these Excel. So you will find it difficult if you don't understand in this slide, because most of these stuff are not being referenced into your slides.
So can you please explain the
Sorry? Explain?
broking account?
Broking account. So you remember the first example that we discussed, where the investor one and the investor two was able to submit their bids.
Yeah.
सो वो बिड सबमिट करने के लिए आपको कोई एक्सेस चाहिए ना, आप बिड कैसे सबमिट करोगे? आप तो ना किसी को भी फोन कर सकते हो, बोले यार मेरी ये बिड है, सो आपने पहले अपने को रजिस्टर कराना पड़ेगा उस ब्रोकर के साथ, सो या आपको यूजर आईडी एंड पासवर्ड मिलेगा जिसमें आप लॉग इन करके अपनी बिड को सबमिट कर सकते हो। दैट्स नथिंग बट ब्रोकिंग अकाउंट और ट्रेडिंग अकाउंट। सो आकांक्षा, जैसे मैंने जो आपको एग्जांपल बताया उसमें 3 चीजें हो रही थी। फर्स्ट, आप अपनी बिड सबमिट कर रहे थे। Bid submit, let's assume you are a seller. If you submit the bid to sell the shares, so what first step you will do? First step is you will submit the bid. So that submission of the bid will happen through your broking account. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
This is also called a trading account. Technically, it's not an account. It's an access. You get a user. You get a user ID, login ID, and password. Very similar to your bank account, your online bank account. So you log in into this and submit your bids. It is to ensure that nobody else is able to submit bids on your behalf. But it's an authenticated bid. If you're sharing a user ID and password with somebody else, that's a problem. But the broker is able to recognize that if these bids are coming from this user ID and password, then yes, it's Akansha. That's the way it is being managed. So once you submit the bid, then if you're a seller, if you submit the bill, the next step is you have to give the shares. The shares will be given through your demat account, and then finally you will receive the money. The money will come in your bank account. That is why these 3 steps or these 3 mechanism will help you to complete this trade flow of this transaction.
Okay, sir.
I have a question here, Nishant. Would I need a demat account in case I intend to trade only in futures and options?
If you don't want to take delivery, then no. If you're only doing intraday kind of stuffs, then you don't need those.
Cash settlement, yeah.
Yeah, then no.
All
But
right.
if you intend to take delivery and hold it for some time, then of course, yes, you would need those demat accounts. And not only derivatives. So again, this is theoretical. This doesn't happen in a current scenario. So suppose if you want to buy physical shares, I think most of the companies are not issuing physical shares in the real world, just for the sake of discussion, for a theoretical purpose. Not only derivative markets, even if you want to deal in the cash market, and cash market means your normal exchange market without the derivative equity shares. You want to buy equity shares in a physical form, not the electronic form, then also you don't need those demat accounts. The demat account is required when you want to hold the securities in electronic form. For example, you open a bank account when you want to hold the cash in the electronic form. If whatever you earn want to keep in a physical form in your cupboard, and let's assume it's a legally allowed money, then you don't need a bank account, correct? You can hold the money in physical form.
So I just need a clarification. For example, if I have an account with Zerodha, is that a demat or a broking account?
So what happens in that account? You hold the securities, or that account helps you to submit the bid?
I think it allows me to submit bids. As of now, I haven't held any securities of yet.
So then it becomes a trading account.
What's that?
So if you're not holding the securities in that, then it will be a trading account. If you are able to hold securities in that, then it becomes a demat account.
All right. So aren't both these functionalities available in one particular account itself?
Yes, it is. Generally, these brokers or these agencies sell this as a combo product rather than selling it, because it works out for you also, correct? Why would you go to one broker and say broking account, then you'll go to somebody else for a demat account? सब एक ही जगह मिल जाता है आपको, but technically आपके पास 2 अलग-अलग account होते हैं system के अंदर. And if in a much more big setups, आपको actually bank account में भी दे देते हैं. So let's say if you go to ICICI Direct के पास आप जाओगे, बोलोगे मुझे अकाउंट मुझे ट्रेडिंग करनी है, वो आपको तीनों खोल के दे देगा, क्योंकि उसका ICICI बैंक के साथ कॉन्टैक्ट है, तो आपका बैंक अकाउंट भी खोल देगा. अनलेस यू से कि मेरा बैंक अकाउंट है ICICI के साथ, तो आपको तीनों खुलवा देगा एक ही.
Right. Thanks.
हाँ जी. Any other question, doubts, guys? Please feel free. Shoot.
Sir, ऑप्शंस सॉरी फ्यूचर में सर 1 महीने की रहता है सर एक्सपायरी, सो वो डीमेट अकाउंट में पेंडिंग रहते हैं हमारे शेयर्स।
Yeah.
ओके सर।
It's not 1 month, yes. So it's 3 maturities, 3 months. So at any
Yes sir,
point of time when we look at the screen, we can see three expiries. One is a near month, then you have far month, and then you have mid month.
exactly sir.
Anything else? Anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. So this takes care of your uh, different types of accounts. The next concept that comes in, which you need to understand, is an underwriting. Have we discussed this?
No sir.
The next is the underwriting concept. What do you mean underwriting concept? So suppose, let's say, uh, let's go to our original example. Suppose in the primary market, Reliance wants to issue 100 shares. Total shares that I want to issue is 100 shares. Now, for to make this more better, let me remove this Reliance and just suppose ABC Limited. Suppose ABC wants to issue 100 shares, and the reason why I'm saying ABC because it's a not too much of a renowned big company or something like this. That's the reason I want to bring in that concept. So that's from ABC company, which is a decent small size company and wants to issue 100 shares. Now, in India, in most of the countries, there's a concept called as minimum subscription. In India, currently this is 90%. So what does this mean? Minimum subscription means that so it means when company is issuing shares, at least 90% of what of course total offering should be subscribed by public. If not, then IPO or an FPO, whichever is the case, stands withdrawn. Read this and see whether you've understood this or not. Read this red text. Is this clear? Hello, am I audible? Hello.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
What does this mean that there should be total offering of 90% that should be subscribed by the public? I'm not able to get that.
So if let's assume company is issuing 100 shares, at least 90% shares should get sold into the market. Then only that IPO will consider as successful IPO. So suppose if you're offering 100 shares and only company is able to sell 50 shares, then IPO will be stand cancelled.
Thanks.
So in this example, let's take two scenarios. So if company basically want to offer 100 shares, and suppose public buy 94 shares. So then this IPO will pass through, will be called as, so IPO will go through, it will pass through this test. But let's assume scenario 2, if public buy only 85 shares, this IPO has to be cancelled then, and money has to be refunded. Understood? So by 5 share you are short, and that's what is called minimum subscription. एटलीस्ट इतने शेयर्स बिकने चाहिए, 90% आपके टोटल बिकने चाहिए, तभी आपको आईपीओ सक्सेसफुल माना जाएगा, अदरवाइज वो आईपीओ आपको कैंसिल करना पड़ेगा. Is that clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
So now to protect, there's a concept called as underwriting. Now what underwriting means, suppose if there's a new company like ABC Limited, which is not not big and reputed like Reliance. So ABC is a relatively new company, और ABC को डर है कि उसके 90 शेयर्स नहीं बिकेंगे, और 90 शेयर्स अगर नहीं बिके तो उसका पूरा IPO एफर्ट, मनी एंड रेपुटेशन will go for a toss. So that's why they get into underwriting agreement. They get in the underwriting agreement. They get in the underwriting agreement. As per this agreement, suppose they get in this underwriting agreement with X. So what does it mean? As per this agreement, X promises that in case of any shortage, X will buy the shares to meet minimum subscription requirement. Read the section which is in yellow and let me know if you not understood this. Guys? Yes, no?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
No, sir.
Okay, so what does this mean? So let's go back to the original scenario. So suppose if the company buys 85, and let's assume this company is getting underwriting, then what will happen? The X will step in because shortage, and X will buy 5 shares more. So what will happen? 85 plus 5, 90 ho gaye, and this IPO, rather than being getting cancelled, this IPO will get through. This is the advantage of this underwriting agreement. If 5 rupees वो खरीद लेगा, X खरीद लेगा. But let's assume अगर ये first scenario होता 94, अब मिनिमम सब्सक्रिप्शन पूरा हो गया, बट फिर भी 6 शेयर्स आर लेस फ्रॉम अ टोटल ऑफरिंग. तो यहाँ पे एक्स को कुछ खरीदने की जरूरत नहीं है, बिकॉज द ऑब्लिगेशन फॉर द एक्स is to help to meet the minimum subscription required. This obligation is not to meet the 100% requirement. Is that clear?
Yes.
This entire concept is called as underwriting, and with whom you enter into this contract is called as underwriter. So in this example, the X is an underwriter. This agreement, the nature of the agreement is called as underwriting. Any questions, doubt? No, sir. Anybody else? Any other doubt, questions, queries, guys? Please.
So one more thing.
Yeah, Kansha.
When the X buys 5 shares, it will just complete the minimum subscription. But won't it take like in this shortage? Won't it buy all the remaining left, or it will just
So
go for the shortage to be completed?
so that's an X. That's a X decision or X choice. But definitely X will be under would be under compulsion, or X would be under obligation to buy at least 5. Over and above his choice, whether he want to buy any additional 10 or not, it's completely his decision. He cannot be forced to buy additional 10 shares, but he will be forced to buy 5 shares.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome. Any other doubt, guys? Please feel free and ask. No? Last time, any doubt in this? Okay. I think one thing before we close, but I'm not sure whether I've discussed with this batch the importance and probably the need to regularly read the newspapers. Have you discussed this earlier? If yes, I will probably not waste time to repeat those stuffs. But if not, then probably will take 5-10 minutes. Have you discussed this earlier in terms of
Yes,
the
sir.
need?
Yes, sir. We have
Okay, then that's cool. So, okay. So just to summarize this, what we've discussed earlier, that it's important for you, not for me. It's important for you, for yourself, for your career, that you read newspapers regularly. If you've started doing that, that's good for you. If not, that's again good for you. It's your individual choice. But be prepared This is around 3.5 months journey. At the end, you will realize the difference in terms of those who are reading newspapers regularly and those who are not reading newspapers regularly. Automatically, there will be a huge difference. And please, 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 in case you don't believe me, ask anybody who works into a decent financial analyst oriented roles or have applied or has got interviewed recently. There is high probability that during generally these interviews or recruitment process, we generally ask something around what's happening in the market as well, just to try and get a sense in terms of whether the candidate understands what's happening around, whether he or she is able to understand, not only understand, whether whether he or she is able to apply the concept that the candidate has learned during this process or during his academic preparation, whether he or she is able to apply those concepts or not in the real world. So, and it's a long, it will not happen overnight. So if you're not used to reading newspapers, probably it will take a couple of weeks for you to start understanding some concepts. ठीक है, तो पहले 1-2 वीक आपको बहुत पेशेंस टेस्ट होंगे, आपको कुछ समझ में नहीं आएगा क्या हो रहा है क्या नहीं हो रहा है. Probably you will find it difficult to hold newspaper as well. You will not understand which section should I look at. That's obvious. So you need to hold those patience for a week or so, rather than giving up so easily. And then, of course, slowly and slowly, you will start settling down. You will start making sense of something, and you will reach at 10%. क्या आपको 10% समझ आ रहा है? Then slowly, slowly, we continue for another couple of weeks, and you will reach at 20%. धीरे धीरे comfort will go up. So that's the way it should be, and it will be. Okay, so anybody who has started doing this and is facing some difficulty, wants my help or guidance, and there is more than happy to take that.
So I started reading, obviously, while going in details of the topic, things get haywire and it's difficult to understand what the basic topic was when I just go through the details of the newspaper. I then prefer to just go to the headings and then just brush up whatever the news is. So this is the problem I am facing.
कितना टाइम वो कांचा स्टार्ट करे आपको? Honest आंसर देना.
Honestly, 1 week.
1 week and 1 week में per day on an average आप कितना टाइम लगा रहे हो? 10 मिनट, 5 मिनट,
It
20
takes
मिनट,
more than
आधा घंटा, 1 घंटा?
yeah, it takes more than half an hour, and then I just give up.
So you're spending half an hour.
Yes, I spend half an hour reading one article. It's because of that, and then I just give up reading it.
हाँ, तो उसमें प्रॉब्लम करेक्ट. सो व्हाट विल हैपन इज जस्ट ट्राई एंड अंडरस्टैंड. एक न्यूज़ है, वो न्यूज़ फर्स्ट टाइम न्यूज़पेपर में जब आई होगी तब उसमें उसके बेसिक्स से स्टार्ट हुआ होता है, एंड देन उसके बाद वो न्यूज़ अगले 5 दिन 10 दिन चलती है, बट वो बेसिक से नहीं चलती, उसमें जो आगे की डेवलपमेंट होती है वहां से चलती है. करेक्ट? So
Yes.
if you start reading that news from the 4th day, then you will not understand what has happened at the first start. So you need to go and Google out and start understanding this. But once you spend couple of weeks, धीरे धीरे क्या होगा, आपको जो बाकी न्यूज आ रही है मार्केट्स में या न्यूज़पेपर में, जिस दिन वो फर्स्ट टाइम आएगी उसी दिन आप कैच कर लोगे, धीरे धीरे वो आपका बिल्ड होना शुरू होगा. एंड ऑनेस्टली अगर आप स्टार्टअप फेज में हो, स्टार्टअप फेज में मतलब कि आपने आज से मतलब 1 वीक से पहले कभी न्यूज़पेपर वगैरह पर टाइम स्पेंड नहीं करा. So in my personal opinion, half an hour is too less. And the way I think you are responding and you're sounding, it seems you're not reading newspaper. You're just looking at some app or something and then just trying to glance through it. ऐसा शायद मुझे लग रहा है. Is my assessment right, Akansha? Do you hold the newspaper and spend time with that?
No, I'm not going through the app. I'm just going through the PDF that I have in my phone.
Yeah. So correct. So which means you just look at one article and then do not try and spend time on other articles. Correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. That's not going to help you too much. I still remember those days early during my MBA days when I started off with this. I used to spend 6.5 hours on an average per day. I was still not able to make a sense out of it. Of course, it's a difficult, but I don't know. If you believe half an hour good for you, it's your choice. But to me, half an hour for somebody at this stage is too less, especially when you're at this stage and you're struggling. You need to spend more time. Right? The good long-term solution for you to overcome some challenges or the new stuff where you're struggling is you need to spend and practice more. Right? That's why I'm asking you. If you believe half an hour is not good enough for you, don't try and expect that I will give you some magic trick that within 5 minutes you'll be able to get out of this. That's not possible. You need to spend, of course, if you don't understand one article, try and Google that article, try and read about some basic stuffs about that article, and then probably in the next couple of days you start understanding little more about it. So I'm not saying you will reach 100%, you will reach from 0 to 10% and 10 to 15%. At the same time, once you're done with that article, try and spend some time on other articles as well, so that you slowly and slowly get to that mode of reading newspaper. And honestly, I'm not sure what shape and form you're looking at, but if you're looking at a mobile phone, a PDF, then the problem is you need to zoom too much. The position that you get in, which means your neck, you need to bend your head towards the mobile phone. I don't think it's a very good position in the logistics for you to spend more time with that also, because आपको बार बार zoom करना पड़ेगा, zoom in, zoom out, zoom in, zoom out to try and read. I'm not sure. I don't generally. I don't. I get very uncomfortable with that setup, and hence probably I'm not able to spend too much of time in my phone looking at newspaper vis-a-vis the something on my laptop or something on physical newspaper. So that could also be one of the reasons that you generally give up in half an hour.
Maybe I'll just look forward for the PC,
Sorry.
like the PC option. I'll look forward for the PC option and then try over there as well.
Okay, so whether it be the PC, whether it's an app, whether it's a mobile, whether it's a physical newspaper, it's more of a personal choices, correct? I might not be used to too much of probably looking into my mobile phone, but if you're comfortable, that's okay. I'm not trying to force, but the end result should what is more important, that you get that information in your head and you're able to start understanding and able to absorb it and able to retain it for some time. That's important. Whether you do it from which communication channel or logistic setup, that's something which is not so important.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody else, any of the challenge where you need my inputs, or otherwise I will take everybody is good. Anybody struggling around these stuff? Because there's no point of discussing this towards the end of the journey. And of course, probably after today, I will not talk about this stuff. Yes, I.
So I've been reading economics since 4-5 years, but still till date I need at least 2.5 hours for it to complete it. And in that also I exclude pure politics and ideology pages.
ठीक है, तो चैलेंज क्या है इसमें? कुछ चैलेंज है कि सिर्फ
चैलेंज है कि मतलब टाइम लगता है काफी सारा.
हाँ तो लगेगा ना भाई, सैलरी चाहिए तो टाइम तो लगेगा ना. So इसमें कुछ चैलेंज नहीं है साहिल. If you're investing 2.5 hours, you will get rewarded at the right point of time. So it's your call, correct? Whether you want to invest or not. I know people who are investing 6.5 hours, 7.5 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours as well. So it's pretty okay. Don't take that you're on the very much on the higher side. It's your individual choice, and of course, more you practice, more you work on this. For that matter, anything, correct? The more time that you give and more focus that you are for any of the stuff at right point of time, you will get rewarded. Last time, anybody else, guys? So जो silence zone में है, I'm assuming either they've not yet started reading newspaper, or probably they have, but they don't have any issues or struggles to discuss. Okay, that's the only two possibility that can happen. Okay. In case no, so probably we'll keep it till this point, and then we continue tomorrow. My request to you, what to discuss today, because these are not stuff that will be available in the slides, so please go through this. So tomorrow would be your last session with me before you before you start attending those KPMG sessions. Take care. So that's the reason, in case you have any doubts and questions from the stuff that we discussed earlier, so please try and spend some time on those topics as well, so that in case any of the doubts or queries that you have from the stuff that we discussed earlier, then again tomorrow session you can use that, you can use that opportunity to ask any doubts from that as well. ठीक है?
Okay, sir.
Great. Thanks. We'll continue tomorrow. Bye. Take care.